Number 7. Hakan Ayik. Born in Australia to Turkish parents in 1979, Hakan Ayik had a checkered childhood marred by the death of his father, rampant drug addiction within his immediate family, and his cousin and brother at one point being sent to prison. By the early 2000s, Ayik was operating a large-scale criminal empire that was said to have close ties to the Comanchero motorcycle gang. His various legal exploits included drug importation, cooperation with the Samgor Chinese triad, as well as partnering with corrupt customs officials and jail officers in Australia and Tonga. In 2010, Ayik became known as the Facebook gangster because of his proclivity to flaunt the trappings of his lavish lifestyle on social media. The man became the subject of an Interpol Red Notice in August of that year, and after briefly being taken into custody in Cyprus, he fled from justice upon posting bail. As he furthered his illicit endeavors, Ayik garnered a reputation as a prolific cybercriminal and was attributed with introducing the encrypted communications platform Phantom Secure to the world of organized crime. In 2018, the cybersecurity company was shut down by the FBI and Australian Federal Police. In Ayik's subsequent attempt to find a new encrypted messaging app for him and his criminal constituents, he inadvertently aided the FBI in what became known as the Anam Sting operation. An undercover agent had reportedly given Ayik access to a bait platform known as Anam, which had a backdoor intentionally installed for American and Australian law enforcement. Believing the app to be legitimate, the notorious cybercriminal distributed it to his contacts, which ultimately led to the arrest of more than 800 suspects across 16 countries. In the wake of the Anam fiasco, which reportedly caused Ayik to become a target of certain members of the international criminal element, he moved to Turkey, where he began operating the King's Cross Hotel in Istanbul. He's allegedly taken steps to distance himself from his previous Facebook gangster persona, having undergone plastic surgery to alter his facial appearance. Ayik, who is described as Australia's most wanted man, has an estimated net worth of approximately $1.5 billion. As of the latest updates on the matter, Ayik had been indicted by the FBI as part of a RICO conspiracy case, which, if he were to be convicted, would result in him being sent to prison for up to 20 years. Number 6. Goznim Criminal Network. In May of 2019, the FBI, along with other global law enforcement partners, apprehended a so-called cyber kingpin who masterminded a malware scam in an attempt to steal upwards of $100 million. A Justice Department press release detailed how Alexander Konovalov and his alleged accomplice, Marat Kazanjian, had used Goznim malware to hack into Windows PCs and obtain people's bank account information. The Goznim software reportedly infected computers belonging to tens of thousands of victims worldwide, primarily in the US and Europe. The cybercriminal network had initially been formed after Konovalov and Kazanjian advertised their specialized technical skills and services on underground Russian-language criminal forums. In addition to the two main suspects, 5 Russian hackers were alleged to have taken part in the multi-million-dollar scheme, but as of subsequent updates, they remained at large. Number 5. Ruja Ignatova. Bulgarian-German fraudster Ruja Ignatova gained international notoriety for perpetrating the Ponzi scheme known as OneCoin, described as one of the biggest scams in history. Ignatova started OneCoin back in 2014, promoting it as a cryptocurrency that was centralized on servers hosted by a Bulgaria-based offshore company in Dubai. The business's primary method of generating revenue was the sale of educational material for trading. The packages offered to members ranged in price from $100 to over $200,000, according to one industry blog. The contents of OneCoin's educational literature were said to have been more than questionable, as they allegedly plagiarized numerous other sources. Ignatova's company attracted suspicions from international law enforcement almost instantly, as she had previously been given a suspended jail sentence in connection to a financial fraud she'd committed with her father in 2012. The following year, she'd gotten involved with a multi-level marketing scam called Bitcoin, before founding her purported cryptocurrency venture a year later. In 2017, Ignatova vanished. Shortly after, arrest warrants were filed in secret for her and her brother Konstantin. Following her sudden disappearance, Konstantin took over his cybercriminal sister's position as the head of OneCoin, before ultimately being taken into custody along with Sebastian Greenwood, another of the company's executives. Prosecutors claimed that OneCoin had brought in upwards of $4 billion in illegally obtained funds while it was in operation. Konstantin eventually pleaded guilty to charges of money laundering and fraud, while Ignatova herself remained on the run. The woman was charged in absentia for wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering, and in the summer of 2022 was added to the FBI's most wanted list. Ignatova was last seen boarding a flight from Bulgaria to Greece in 2017, and as of the latest developments, her current whereabouts were still unknown. Number 4. International ATM heist. In early 2016, Europol began investigating a European-based cybercriminal gang suspected of stealing millions of dollars from ATMs through the use of malware. The following year, law enforcement entities from Europe and Asia arrested 5 alleged members of the group, which had swindled approximately $3 million from 22 individuals across 6 different countries. It was detailed how the cybercriminals had used phishing emails containing malicious attachments to target bank employees and penetrate the internal networks of the financial institutions they victimized. The gang then hacked into the ATM networks, siphoned the money from unsuspecting patrons' accounts, and used malware to delete all traces of their activities. 3 of the gangsters, Andres Peregudovs, Nikolai Penkov, and Mikhail Kolibaba, were taken into the custody of the Taiwanese Criminal Investigation Bureau and faced sentences of 5 years in prison for the predatory scheme. One of the remaining suspects was arrested by the Romanian National Police, while the other was detained by the Belarusian Central Office of the Investigative Committee. A court decreed that the individuals involved in the international cyber heist would be extradited back to their native countries following the conclusion of their prison terms. Number 3. Andy Castillo. On January the 6th of 2020, the police in Lubbock, Texas, arrested a man accused of targeting children in a cyber-stalking operation. The suspect, Andy Castillo, who was in his 50s at the time, contacted about a half-dozen female real estate agents from the Waco area. He allegedly sent the victims explicit photographs as well as pictures of their children that he'd taken from social media sites with graphic descriptions of inappropriate acts being performed on them. Castillo used encrypted messaging apps to conceal the phone numbers from which the threatening texts were sent. Investigators indicated that the man eventually slipped up, allowing authorities to identify him as the cyberstalker. He was taken into custody on charges of criminal solicitation to commit aggravated assault of a child and third-degree felony stalking following his arrest. Castillo's DNA was uploaded to a national law enforcement database, which led to him being identified as a suspect in 2 previously unsolved murder cases. In 2003, the partially unclothed body of Cynthia Palacio had been found along a rural road in Lubbock. The following year, a second woman, Linda Carbajal, was found dead on a dirt road in northern Lubbock County. The authorities matched evidence recovered from the original crime scenes to Castillo's DNA, and he was consequently indicted for capital murder. While awaiting trial, Castillo was found dead in his jail cell after reportedly succumbing to complications stemming from COVID-19. Today's topic was requested by Tara Rose. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comment section below. Number 2. Zane Kaiser. A prolific cybercriminal infected hundreds of millions of computers with ransomware between September of 2012 and December of 2018, when he was remanded into custody after a National Crime Agency investigation. 24-year-old Zane Kaiser was an alleged member of a Russian-speaking organized crime group that unleashed a campaign of malware and blackmail on victims from more than 20 different countries around the world. For his role in the scheme, Kaiser was said to have collected at least $800,000, although the exact figure is thought to be much higher. He used the illegally obtained funds to bankroll an extravagant lifestyle, replete with luxury hotel stays, high-end escorts, drugs, and big money gambling excursions. Kaiser reportedly targeted prospective victims by purchasing mass quantities of advertising traffic on adult film websites. He used fake identities and fraudulent companies to make it appear as though he worked for a legitimate online advertising agency. When users clicked on the ads created by the cybercrime group, they'd be redirected to a website hosting a highly sophisticated malware strain that would infect any vulnerable devices. Those who found themselves victimized by the predatory ads would then be blackmailed by Kaiser and his criminal associates. The gang requested ransom payment through a virtual currency that would then be laundered by way of an international network of illegitimate financial service providers. Kaiser pleaded guilty to 11 counts, including blackmail, fraud, money laundering, and computer misuse. Following a sentencing hearing at Kingston Crown Court, the hacker was jailed for 6 years and 5 months. Number 1. Jeremy Hammond. In 2003, Chicago teen Jeremy Hammond founded the computer security training website Hack This Site, which described itself as a non-profit organization aimed at protecting a good security culture and learning atmosphere. 2 years later, Hammond was involved in a joint effort to hack the pro-war political activist group Protest Warrior. As part of the cyber attack, the hacker accessed thousands of credit card numbers. Although no unauthorized charges were made with the illegally obtained information, Hammond was sent to prison for 2 years for the crime. The young man's second run-in with law enforcement came in 2013, when he was arrested on computer fraud charges for hacking the private geopolitical intelligence company Stratfor and releasing confidential data to WikiLeaks. Hammond's cyber attacks reportedly victimized not only the firm itself, but also other law enforcement agencies and thousands of innocent individuals. Despite his reputation as one of the world's premier hackers, Hammond later told the Associated Press that the FBI was able to track him down because he used a really weak password. The password in question was Chewy123, in reference to his cat named Chewy. Hammond consequently faced a 10-year prison term, of which he served 7 years, before his release in November of 2020. Thanks for watching. Would you rather learn that each of your internet passwords was being distributed across the dark web, or be forced to remove all the locks from your home? Let us know in the comments section below.